And we are recording. All right. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Build a Mind podcast. I'm here with my guest, John Motta. John, how are you doing today, man?
Hey man, thanks for inviting me. Just awesome to be here. Talking about Bitcoin, talking about the things that we love. So yeah, thrilled to be here.
Bitcoin is an interesting topic. There's so many subgenres that you can dive down. We
Oh
happen to
yeah,
be in the mining space, which in and of itself has so many different rabbit holes that you can dive down. And I just want to say before we get into it, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to have this conversation. I know it's kind of getting a little late for you over on the other side of the world, but you know what? Bitcoin mining never stops, and at the end of the day, it's
it is.
TikTok
It
and
is
squat.
24/7.
So um, I guess a good place to start this off is just, getting a little bit of background, a little history on who you are and how you kind of came to Bitcoin and mining. So, yeah, for the purposes of the show, just kind of run through a brief history of who you are and where your journey began with Bitcoin.
Oh, okay, nice. So I'm just your average Brazilian guy. I was born, I was playing football, and at some point I was in the university. So yeah, just not so many different things there. I did engineering, so it's a kind of diploma that doesn't exist really around the world. It's kind of industrial engineering at the same time, uh, management of engineering. And I to get things even more complicated, I did two courses, like civil engineering and this course at the same time. So the double graduation thing. And yeah, even before graduating, I stumbled upon Bitcoin. I was doing consulting there before and consulting startups and incubators and accelerators. And at some point, I stumbled across, well, Bitcoin mining, right? Everyone says, oh, I've heard about Bitcoin years ago. I just didn't act on it. Yeah, right. That's the story of a lot of us guys. Uh, yeah, I heard actually about Bitcoin when people invented the dielectric fluid. So those guys at, I think, engineering fluids. I think that's the original guys that invented it. They presented it on a conference or something, like dipping laptops on a bathtub with a liquid. And at that time, my father was working in data centers, and well, he briefly mentioned Bitcoin mining. But yeah, it's just a thing. Someone is doing it. And years passed before I listened about Bitcoin again. And well, I ended up working for this company. At a time, it was a venture builder, a company that wanted to make other startups or other business make it work. One of those business was Bitcoin mining. So this company, Arthur Inc., was being born at the time and was scaling rapidly. It became the main source of money from this venture builder, and it ended up being just Arthur Inc. So yeah, I work at this company today as operations manager, managing operations and helping overseeing them in Brazil and US. And at some point, I was, there's a lot of rabbit holes in Bitcoin mining. I was in just one of them, which is a Telegram group about Bitcoin containers. And Scott said something like, "Oh, what your guys doing?" And people start saying things, and I say, "Well, I'm just here trying to get the truck unstuck from the mud on a Bitcoin mining site." You know, just people pushing it.
Uh-huh.
And he found it funny, and well, I ended up invited to come here to talk about the crazy thing we've been doing in Brazil. Yeah, just
Okay, so there's a bunch of places I want to go with this. I mean, first off, obviously we're going to talk about the extreme conditions that you have had to
yeah.
deal with in building Bitcoin mining operations in Brazil. We in America, we have it easy. We complain a lot, but we definitely have it easy compared to different parts of the world. Uh,
In some parts, yeah, yeah.
yeah. But I want to take it back to your formal education as an
Hmm.
industrial engineer and a civil engineer,
Yeah.
and then your journey into Bitcoin. It sounds like your journey into Bitcoin was kind of like in tandem with your journey into Bitcoin mining, which is not the exact same journey for a lot of people. Most people, they get into Bitcoin and then they ask, well, how are Bitcoin created? And then they dive down the rabbit hole of Bitcoin mining. And it
Hmm.
sounds like you kind of like had a couple touch points. And then as you're jumping down the Bitcoin rabbit hole, you're also driving down the Bitcoin mining rabbit hole. Is that correct?
Oh no, I'm ashamed to say that it was actually more shaming than that. I've worked in Bitcoin mining for a year and a half before I fell into the rabbit hole of Bitcoin itself.
Oh
I was
wow.
just reading it. Yeah, I just an idiot, just an idiot.
No, no,
You
no,
know.
not an idiot. Just it
Oh yeah,
works
an
for
idiot for sure. I could have been entering Bitcoin way sooner than I entered. Well, an investor is full of regrets. That's one of mine. You
Yeah,
know.
we all have regrets. The and my audience has heard me say this many times, but you should never invest in something that you don't understand. And for you, you had to understand Bitcoin mining before you understood
Yeah,
what
yeah,
Bitcoin was. I have my camera guy. I don't know if he's going to see this or not, but my camera guy, he's just now starting to get into Bitcoin, and it's only because he's edited so many videos and so much content on
better late than ever, man.
exactly,
Yo,
exactly.
cameraman, be quick, man. Learn it all.
Learn a lot. I love it. So yeah, one thing that I've noticed because I've spoken with tons of engineers.
Yeah,
I like to think that I'm sort of engineering focused. I'm not an engineer. I've never had a formal engineering background
yeah.
or education, but I like to build things. But for me, an
That's
engineer,
half the part. The other part is just caffeine for a
yeah,
long period of time.
there you go. For me, it seems like engineers like understand systems. You start to understand
Yeah.
how systems work. You see the different moving pieces, the parts, and you put them together or dismantle them and then put them back together. And so, for you as an engineer, when you saw Bitcoin mining, what was that aha moment for you that you were like, "Oh, this is pretty cool. This makes a lot of sense."
Oh, great. That's kind of. I'll circle back, okay? Because there's a few things. I think Bitcoin itself has a lot of to do with engineering because I believe in engineering in a certain way. An engineer is a guy that see things not the way they are, but as they could be. It's not an unsatisfied guy, but well, this could be better. And you learn to be engineer to be able to build things the way that you imagine. So I think that's the beautiful part. And well, Bitcoin is someone that took a look at the fiat system and said, well, we could be doing better than that. So I think there's synergy on that. The aha moment, well, it took long, almost a year and a half, like in Bitcoin mining. The strange thing was I was giving uh, not classes, but internal, how can I say that? Internal education for the company of what is Bitcoin and how Bitcoin works without being a Bitcoiner, which was strange, because I knew how things uh, worked. I I wasn't just fully committed on. And well, I had this guy. It's called Caio Letta, and he's one of the Brazil's biggest Bitcoin advocates. Right. Also, he has a YouTube channel, and well, it's a very cool guy. If you had the chance to talk with him, and he comes from a background of geological engineer. I don't think that's the translation, but man, the guy was using rocks, leaking rocks or something,
Mhm.
and at some point he started Bitcoin advocating. Yeah, and he was head of research at this company, and he would just always just drop some pearls, things to look out and asking the right questions to make me question what I was saying and what I was believing. And he's the friend that talks on your ear for a long period of time. Buy Bitcoin, don't sell your Bitcoin, understand Bitcoin at all. And he wrote a book, and he was giving this book away with a lot of his papers that he wrote along the years. And well, the first time that I bought Bitcoin was after I read his book. I trust him a lot, and I was feeling that it was something, but I wanted to learn and understand better before I truly invest on it. And he said to me, "Well, it might take you long, so just don't wait. Start buying a little bit, DCA." I never understood the concept until later, but I was DCAing for a long time before I actually committed. And he said, "Well, some Bitcoin. Here's some Bitcoin." He said, "Some satoshis to my wallet. Take care of it and study it." And at some point, uh, Brazil, it's a complicated financial system and a complicated country. So we face inflation head on, multiple years and for a long time, and especially after COVID. So I got into protecting my things, my money. So I went investing. I was into investing 3 or 4 years before me fully understanding Bitcoin, and I was already diversifying by investing in the United States. So getting my Brazilian reais to dollars, and I always saw that an opportunity to hedge myself against Brazilian inflation. And well, I started investing in Bitcoin. And at some point, I had a financial advisor or a financial caretaker or something like that,
Mhm.
helping me to invest my money. And I was just revising the earnings. And I said, well, these earnings are very good, man. But please take off Bitcoin earnings from that because I'm seeing Bitcoin value in reais. So that's just getting things unreal, because Bitcoin is Bitcoin, reais is reais. And when I said that, whoa, I'm sounding like Kyle, which is crazy. No, he's a crazy guy. Uh, so yeah, I asked my financial advisor to do that. He done, and my earnings wasn't that great at all. And when I understood that, I found myself being a Bitcoin maximalist, or somehow, or becoming a Bitcoin maximalist. And I just called Kyle like happy. Oh man, I think something changed in my mind. I have just not the exact number here, but I have now because of the Bitcoin. I think it went from $40,000 to $70,000 or something like that at the time, and I have now 20% of my funds in Bitcoin, and I said it proudly. I have 20% in Bitcoin, and he very gently says to me in an audio like, "Are you a fucking imbecile? You have 80% that's not in Bitcoin. What are you doing the past 1.5 years? Are you an idiot?" I said, "Oh, sorry. What I've done something wrong? You're an idiot, man. You're just wasting." And he just uh, trashed me.
Yeah.
And at that point, he didn't push me into the rabbit hole, right? He just full Sparta kicked me into the rabbit hole, like, go fucking study, man. He was
Oh,
pissed at me, and because I have just lost a huge boom from Bitcoin, and I wasn't fully invested in.
mhm.
And for the next, I don't know, 30 days, I just, fell into the gravitational force of Bitcoin. Everybody goes through that at some point.
Oh, man.
So I read Bitcoin Standard in 3 days. He reread his book. I went to Lean Out, and from, I think she's in Swan, or was in Swan not a long time ago. And well, I fell into the rabbit hole, and 30 days later, I emerged a Bitcoin maximalist.
Oh, man. I just have to say, thank God for the crazy toxic maximalists that we all have kind of
Yeah,
in our ear telling us, "Oh no, you need to do
yeah,
this, you need to do that." Um, I really like I think that a lot of us have to go through that pain of like, oh, we're in Bitcoin. Like I put 25% of my net worth into Bitcoin, and then
yeah,
somebody goes, yeah, but you could have put 100 and you would be here if you put 100, and we all go through that. When you first start in Bitcoin, whether you start from a mining perspective or you start just from the financial
hmm,
perspective, like you want to dip your toes in the water because you're like, is this even real? Does it make sense? Like
hmm,
why is everybody freaking out about it? And then when you actually dip your toes in and you get that 15%, 20% in there, and you see the gains and you see what it does and the financial security that it brings you, you
yeah,
kind of like cry a little bit because you're like, man, I should have just done 100% because I'd be better.
yeah.
I've been there,
The
man.
investors only regrets. Like every investor has regrets. That's just the way things are.
Yeah, the regret is I should have put more in. Like,
Yeah, earlier.
yeah, and you know what? You know what? That's the best thing about one of the best things about Bitcoin is that like as an investor in Bitcoin, the regret is never, oh, I shouldn't have put but money in Bitcoin. It's, oh, I should have
Yeah,
put more in Bitcoin.
yeah. It was hard to me, man, because I came from a background of investing in uh, Berkshire way.
Hmm.
The our old guy ways of investing, the
Yeah.
intelligent investor, Howard Marks, all these guys, these books, and all just rage against Bitcoin, So after those 30 days, I understood that I need to get everything that I can into Bitcoin. And I struggled with myself for weeks for, man, I don't believe I'm doing this. I understand where this this anxiety come from. I understand Bitcoin now. I know that this is not even the future; it's the present. Like it's already there. I'm just losing it. But am I am I really going to put that? I was investing in bonds like 30 days ago. Am I going to just sell everything, fire my financial helper, and going to put everything into Bitcoin? I was spending hours a week studying for investments. And after I done that, I never been so chill in my life, man. It's just buy. It's just simple. Buy,
It's
hold, never sell.
it's crazy
Right?
because you hear this a lot, and I want to ask you about like this perspective shift, like
Hmm.
having to reframe things. But before, like, I just want to say, like, when you when you look at investing like in stocks and bonds in real estate, because this is what I had gone down that rabbit hole before I got into Bitcoin. It is
Hmm.
literally like having a second full-time job, trying to
It
understand
is.
everything that you're trying to invest your money into, just to maintain some semblance of like financial security. Whereas, to your point of like just being chill, like you put your money in Bitcoin and you don't have to do anything else. You just put it in
Yeah.
Bitcoin, and I mean, I guess holding, you have to hold it. You hold it in Bitcoin. Like that is
You have
also,
to study, right?
yeah.
You have to do things right, or you're going to lose it. But then, after you put in the work, you just keep through a constant work of learning, but not in studying the stock. Between you, the two of us, forget the camera right now. Have you read all the financial reports from the stocks that you
Hell
bought?
no. Hell no.
It's impossible, man. It's just simply impossible,
No.
right?
And this goes back to exactly what I was saying is like, and I say this all the time, never invest in something that you don't understand. That piece
Yeah,
of advice, like that ate at me for a very long time as I'm invested in the S&P, as I'm investing on all these companies. It ate at me because I was like, I have no idea what I'm invested in, but I'm putting all this money in here. Like, what am I doing? And that was when I found Bitcoin, similar to you, is like I started understanding it, and it was like just this like gear kicked in, and it was like, oh, that makes sense.
it's just such a shift, right?
Yeah.
It just clicks, something changes. It never go back. It's like getting a blindfold off your eyes. It's
So
just
so for you, that perspective change, that shift from like the old way of investing, stocks and bonds, the Warren Buffett style of
mhm.
investing, to
Yeah.
investing in Bitcoin. What was that transition like for you? Was it like super quick, like you immediately understood it, or was it like a slow phase shift over time?
No, man, it was quick. It was frighteningly quick. That's why I was battling with myself.
Hmm.
Because, am I being emotional on this? Am I being too quick? Uh, have you studied properly? And I was taking a look. Man, I think I put more work into Bitcoin than all the other stocks combined. I've been looking to invest in Bitcoin for 30 days now, but I've been working on Bitcoin mining for like a year and a half, and I can say everything about how Bitcoin works. So if you see, well, the category of crypto assets is the riskier one on the like the levels of riskiness on an exchange or something, right? And well, as Warren Buffett, just invest in things that have fundamentals. And well, Bitcoin has the most fundamental of all. So I was just battling between those two worlds. I understood what I had to do. I was divided, and there comes the Bitcoin toxic maximalist again. I said everything to him, and he just breaks my legs with this one point. It was how am I going to say that in English? It's is the anti-fragile, the book, is it the
Yeah.
translation, right?
Yeah.
Okay, from
Anti-fragile.
Taleb. Oh, okay, that's the name. He said it's just such a leverage opportunity. Okay, you can lose everything that you built until this point, but you can make 10x out of it. It took you like 4 to 5 years to acquire this amount of assets and stocks and bonds. You can gain 60 years. It's so, you know, disproportional. And he break my legs with it because that's just logical.
Yeah.
Even if I didn't knew all the things that I knew, uh, actually my will not to put everything in Bitcoin was the emotional one because I was afraid. And this thing just got my fear off because if I lose everything, I'll get it back.
Hmm.
Actually, quicker than that because I was in the beginning of my career, you know. So it's like a curve like this, right? Where your remuneration, salary, compensation go up with the time. So I mean, yeah, fuck it, I'll do it, everything. And my financial advisor just go, man, are you going so fast? And I just quiet. I'll just go with Bitcoin, you know. Uh, Actually, now 2 years later, I I've been advising him on Bitcoin.
I
So
like
that's a
it.
shit, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude. I
you know,
love I love, like, these are the stories that I want to hear about, because a lot of people who are hearing the word Bitcoin but they don't understand it, they are in that point of of fear, uncertainty, and doubt about Bitcoin.
yeah,
And they're like, the way I see it is, you're wasting your energy, your life force, your time, which you're trading for dollars, when you could be
hmm,
trading it for something that is actually secure, stable, and financially the least
it
riskiest
is.
asset that has ever existed. And I know that there's a lot of people in that place. And so we really
Hmm.
need, we need good education. We need to be able to speak to them in ways where, like you had that toxic maximalist friend that like you understood, you were on a level, and he
Yeah,
was able to say something, you're like, okay, I get it. Most of the time, if a toxic maximalist speaks to a normie, the normie puts up a wall and shuts down. And it's like,
yeah,
we want to stop that kind of discourse and discussion. We really want to build up, understanding and communication around what this asset class is. But anyways, we've talked a lot about your history, which this is great because this gives the people an understanding and kind of a deeper insight into who John is. But I really want to dive into like the mining aspect of your life.
okay,
What
let's
have you
go.
been doing? So, um, from what I understand, you've built, a 40 megawatt site in Brazil, correct? Um,
Yeah, no, no, no. Almost that. Like we built 20 and scaled to 40 megawatts in the US.
okay,
And in Brazil, we have an MVP running, and we have a big project by the end of the year, which I can say the name or location or anything, that
okay,
is going to start at 20 megawatts.
okay.
That's
So
why.
I got it backwards. So you did a
Okay.
40 megawatt project in the US, and now
Hmm.
you're working on a 20 megawatt project that's currently being built out in
Oh,
Brazil.
yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
it is.
So, the topic of today's conversation is mining in extreme conditions.
Okay.
And that could be harsh climate, it could be harsh regulatory environments. But I think I want to start with like the regulatory climate in Brazil versus the US.
Okay.
So, obviously you have experience building out these mining operations, but what are some of the things, if you're speaking to an audience that wants to build out in different regulatory environments around the world, what are some of the experiences that you've had that have helped you learn some really key fundamental aspects of building in different environments? And then, what are those environments? I hope that framed that question right. Just take it away.
That's we can go keep talking, and we get to that for sure. Well, I'll start off saying that, man, I love my Brazil. Actually, I got a flag right here. I got my flag here. I love Brazil, man, but we don't play on easy mode here. Regulatory uh, difficult situation, taxes, corruption, education, climate. We're in the size of a continent, right? And we don't have the decentralized structure that US have. So yeah, the company had experience operating in the United States, and when the opportunity arrived for us to just build things in Brazil, things got real really quick. It was an opportunity to make it on in our own country, and but we didn't have the experience to do it. All our guys, operation guys, were in the United States, So we got our past experiences in the US, and made the best of it in Brazil. So yeah, it is extreme conditions because of climate, because of lack of support. Bitmain doesn't operate in Brazil.
Hmm.
We don't have like official ways to repair our machines. Uh, when you need to get machines to Brazil, you can't do it with the used ones. There are caveats, there are ways to go around it, but officially you can't just bring used machines. And so yeah, it's just not meant to mine Bitcoin in Brazil. It's not easy to. No one is facilitating things, which is sad because we actually are seeing prices of energy in Brazil, really competitive ones. We can get energy from around 3 cents.
Oh, wow.
That's just awesome. Yeah, but you're going to get fucked in other ways. There
Gotcha.
are taxes, there are complications, geological complications. And why that 3 cents? Well, Brazil is going through a situation right now, something close that happens to other countries as well. Renewable energy was vastly incentivized some years ago, and it was incentivized, I think, until last or year or the other one. And what happened is in the northeast of Brazil, remember, Brazil is the size of a continent, right?
Yeah.
So in the northeast of Brazil, they expanded a lot on the renewable energies. So solar, wind, hybrid plants, things big, man, 1 gigawatt plus sometimes.
Oh, wow.
But the main consumption markets in Brazil is in the southeast. So
So a
okay,
huge
just get.
difference in the usage versus the generation.
Oh yeah, and it's not like the city across. It's the size of a continent. So the problem is the generation just expanded a lot, and the transmission didn't accompany it. So what we have here is a stranded capacity of transmitting energy. So all these generators in the northeast of Brazil are just getting curtailed like crazy, man. People are going bankrupt because they are getting curtailed a lot, and projects just simply don't pay off because of that. So imagine when you have a big generation size of one gigawatt, if they have 5 or 10% inefficiency, that's just gold for us. Bitcoin miners. There's a lot of energy, and they sometimes have even more of that. It's not always it's curtailed, but there comes the flexibility of Bitcoin mining that the audience here for sure knows that. You can just turn them on, turn them off, and you dimension things in a way that you take the most of it without, uh, you know, getting in the way of the generator to sell his energy to the grid or something. Uh, well, we can get into specifics like geological complications, hostile environments.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's a good overlook.
Yeah, I want to dive into that, but like before we dive into that, let's talk a little bit about this power generation versus power like
Yep.
being used. So you guys at Arthur Inc. You saw this ability to come in, consume some of this power at a really low cost. But what are some of the challenges that you have faced because of this? I mean, obviously cheap power is great, but you can't just build up in an environment where it's, the regulatory environment is a little bit more difficult, more hostile.
Hmm.
Obviously you can come in there and build because the most of the population is in the south. Obviously, like you said, it's a continent, so it's a
Yeah.
huge distance between you and the mass amounts of people. But are you fighting gangs? Are you fighting like attacks on the mining operations? What's the
Yeah.
security like? Just give us like an overview of like what are some of the challenges that you have to overcome in order to build out a 10 megawatt site or a 20 megawatt site in Brazil in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, okay. So regulatory side, Brazil is not a no regulation zone. There is some regulation, not the best one, uh, but yeah, Brazil walks a little bit forward with that thing. It
Mhm.
gives us some security in operating from the regulatory side. One of the biggest challenges in Brazil is because compared to the US, our grid system and ways of acquiring energy is way more centralized. There's a higher formal entity that regulates everything. So you just can't go directly to the generator. Oh, I'll just buy your energy. No, no, no.
Mm.
The regulatory agency just want their part, you know,
Right.
and their part is not like this. It's like 50%.
Oh wow.
So it gets you can't like have a PPA of about 3 cents, just pushing or getting energy from the grid. What we do is there's a special exemption. Yeah, I think that's the word.
Yeah.
Expression exemption to locally consume. You generate and you consume is self-consuming energy for the generator. So that's another thing, big feature of Bitcoin. You can go and put the data center right next to the generation. So just self-consuming. And when you're self-consuming, you don't have to go through that regulatory agency, not in the same way as you would need to go through if you're going just to draw from
Is
the power grid.
is that because you're not technically selling it to anyone? Like you're generating the power yourself and then
Exactly,
consuming it?
exactly.
Okay.
You're generating and consuming, so you're not selling. If you're selling, there's this regulatory agency just stepping in, and when she steps in, it's not 3 cents anymore because there's a lot of taxes. in,
Mm.
in this way, you pay taxes obviously, but it's characterized in another type of business, not selling energy. you know that's, you can say it's computer computer services or something. No, it's just a different thing. Brazil, it's a very complicated, has very complicated laws. Uh, our constitution has been changed a lot of times through history, and so we don't have a book law like this. It's just like this. And
Mhm.
when you have a lot of laws and little principles, uh, there's a lot of exemptions and ways of managing and navigating the regulatory scene. So there's a lot of ways to do things, and you need special partners on the part of legal to help you out. That's the part that's difficult operating in Brazil. That's just not only for Bitcoin mining. That's for a lot of things, a
Mhm.
lot of type of business. Uh, that that sum up to what people call the Brazil cost. Operating in Brazil is difficult, and you need to have someone from the inside to help you navigate the scene. That's not different for Bitcoin mining.
Mhm.
Let's get on the gang sides, the
Yeah,
side of
I
things
want
and
to hear about
factions.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, people sometimes get the wrong impression from Brazil that it's always like gang wars and factions. That's true for some parts of Brazil, for sure. I don't know if you saw Elite Squad. Elite Squad tells the tales of Brazil, Rio de Janeiro, which is a famous city,
Yeah.
faction wars and everything. There's corruption for sure. There are places in Brazil that are better than others. So the south of Brazil tends to be safer than the northeast of the country. Northeast of the country is not as is more like a poor part of Brazil, and unfortunately is where the factions dominate more. So yeah, operating in the northeast of Brazil, you gotta know well where you putting your feet, and that connects with that MVP that we did in the north of Brazil that I'm going to tell you guys very soon. But yeah, factions are a thing that we have to be aware of, especially for cargo stealing. Uh, actually, the transport company, when they heard we were going to transport computer things, they didn't even know what ASIC were, right? Computer things, they said, "Oh, we don't transport that. We're just going to get robbed. Someone's going to shoot our driver or something." They wanted to split the transport between multiple trucks and have squads, armed vehicles with the trucks to transport them. But that just gets everything crazy expensive, and it only draws more attention. But yeah, the main thing is keeping things quiet. You know,
Mhm.
no one knows what is happening inside that industrial area. It's better for them to not know, because someone can be coming and knocking at your door. No,
Yeah.
thanks,
Okay.
God.
that's
Yeah.
that's intense. I mean, it doesn't sound quite quite as bad as like I thought it would be. Like you hear stories in like Ethiopia or the Congo where they're mining, and you have gangs that just come in and they just take everything, or they overthrow the government, and or the government even comes in and takes over your mining operations. Like we've heard some crazy stories of Russia coming through and just saying, oh well, this is our mining operation now.
Yeah,
So I mean, I can't imagine.
that's not so bad in Brazil.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's good to hear. I mean, 3 cent power and being able to navigate that regulatory environment to where you can actually pay 3 cents a kilowatt hour for power
Hmm.
sounds awesome. In America, we don't have, like, we have a lot of like regulatory bodies that do like navigate, that you have to navigate through, but it's not as easy
Hmm.
to like get around or skirt those
No,
regulatory
I'm
laws.
not saying it's easy in Brazil, man.
Yeah,
Actually, that's the most difficult part. That's crazy difficult.
yeah.
It's easy to say, but yeah, from the energy price standpoint, that's what attracts people to Brazil, and the part of making it happen in the regulatory scene. That's where people give up.
Mm,
So yeah, that's the difficult part for sure.
for sure.
But on the security part, you gotta fly under the radar, and when you become really big, it's difficult to fly under the radar. But well, all these generation parks and generators, they have their security. You you get like oh, insurance. Oh yeah, you get insurance on your operation, and you trust that your generation partner is going to protect the operation also, right?
Mhm.
They have armored vehicles. It's like a big park, it's a closed park, not something people are just walking through the streets and see, oh, there's a Bitcoin mining site, right? That doesn't happen. It's in the middle of nowhere, and you, well, you put on cameras, and sometimes you hope also. But yeah.
Yeah. So with this 20 megawatt site, and obviously I don't say anything that you don't feel comfortable
Mhm.
sharing or anything like that.
Okay.
But with this 20 megawatt site, is it one site, or are you trying to decentralize it a little bit and do like 5 megawatts here, 5 megawatts there? What is kind of like the way it's being run, and then we'll dive into like the way the power is generated.
Okay. This 10 20 megawatt site is going to be built. It's a small part. It's the first part of a bigger project, you know. So it's difficult to find some place with just 100 megawatts just sitting there.
Yeah.
We are seeing today 10 to 12 megawatts opportunities, but it's easier to, see 5 megawatts at a time. But most of the generation, wind is close to the ocean on the northeast. So even if they're different size, they're not going to be crazy far apart. You know,
Mm,
we don't want to be, 1,000 kilometers from each other, but there's no problem of being some kilometers apart. It would be better to be just in one location, but it also concentrates the risk. So decentralizing would be good, but that's not something that you know, uh, we focus on, because most of the time we don't have the choice. Like, oh, do you prefer a 20 megawatt site in the same place, or do you prefer four different sites with 5 megawatts each? No, man, we take what we have, right? So we are seeing more decentralized ones for sure.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I guess it really, you gotta do what you feel most comfortable with, and obviously you did mention you get too big and then you draw more attention to yourself, so you have to
Yeah.
find that sweet spot. What's too big, and then what's like good enough for us, and we have the power accessible that we can utilize. So obviously I don't
That's a
envy you.
strategy.
Yeah.
That's a strategy here, because uh, there's some oil fields, and so gas. You're going to be doing mining with gas. A big generator is a lot like a Bitcoin mining container. If you
Mhm,
paint them to look alike, no one will notice.
mhm.
If you put like five mining containers on the middle of 10 generators, nobody's going to notice. So there's this kind of strategies also, like hiding them in plain sight.
Mhm.
They look a lot like.
Yeah. So on that topic of generators, what kind of power, like where's this power coming from? Are you guys generating the power with gasoline or diesel, or are you getting it from like a hydropower plant, solar? Like what's the power
Mhm.
generation like?
The operation that we got running in Brazil, it's a small hydro plant, and we consume all their energy. But on the northeast is most renewable, so wind and solar. But we have a lot of gas also, but that's a little bit more rare.
Mhm.
They have bigger sites, but well, Brazilian Bitcoin mining scene is not so developed as the US. So uh, some guys are coming from other countries to specialize in gas mining in Brazil. But from the energy standpoint, the the most offer we have is like wind and solar and mixed power plants.
Got you.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Man, there's so many things that we could kind of discuss. I guess I really want to talk about like the main differences as somebody who's you've built in the US, you've built
Mhm.
in Brazil. What are some of the biggest differences that you've seen between the two? Obviously, we touched on like the regulatory environment,
Yeah.
but like would you set up an environment, would you set up a mine in Brazil again, or would you rather build in the US? Like tell us some of these differences and your kind of thoughts and opinions on the two different.
Okay. Well, if you know how to navigate the regulations in Brazil and importing, and there are ways, but maybe you need to have a certain size, to compensate for all the costs of the solution. I would prefer to do it in Brazil. Why? Just energy is so inexpensive, man.
Mhm.
Uh, but well, US come with its good points. The main differences, and while telling you that, I can go into the stories of how things happened in Brazil.
Yeah, please
This
do.
MVP that we got have running is just, man, the craziest stories of my life just happened on that one MVP operation. There's just so much stories for one project, man. Just crazy. Well, the main difference, we had two big sites in US. We ran up almost to 40 megawatts of capacity. We don't have that today because we recently sold a site to buy into three other ones. So we are in the middle of this transition. Uh, but the two sites, they were 1 hour, sometimes less, from a big city, structured city. What do I mean by that? You can get like a breaker. You can get copper wire. You can get someone to fix a motor. You can get supplies from Home Depot. Something that's a structured city. So when things go wrong there, usually you can get people there if they are awake in less than an hour to see what's happening with their own eyes, and they can get what they need uh, if it's in the middle of the 2 3 a.m. They can get it on next morning on Home Depot, something to fix things before doing the final repair on things. So the amount of preparation that you need to operate on this location is not so big, because
Mhm.
you can handle and think of a plan when things go wrong. Well, then comes Brazil, right? We are in operation. We are in operation in the middle of nowhere. What do I mean by the middle of nowhere? Actually, that state has like a stone monument saying, "Here is the middle of Brazil." It's in the city there. Yeah, the geological center of Brazil.
Yeah.
So we fly there. It takes us a full day between connection flights from going to the south of Brazil to the capital of the state, and then you get a car and you drive 9 hours to the entry of the farm that we are in. And when you get to the farm, you drive a full hour to the place in the farm where we stay, and then you drive 15 to 20 minutes to the place where we are mining. And this full hour and a half is like dirt roads, and not the good kind. The the kind that we promise ourselves that we are never going to be there without a truck ever again.
Uh-huh.
Because the last time we got a less powerful truck, well, we got history. You know, uh, So the first time that we went there to, deploy the operation, my boss at the time, Paulo, he says to me, "Well, you're in charge of thinking of everything that can go wrong. Everything. List everything. Make a contingency plan to, okay, if this happened, what you're going to do." So I spent a month like just brainstorming problems, and for every problem we had to have a solution, because if you need any specific uh, fastener or oh, I just bolt, yeah, the word just, if you specific need a specific bolt, that bolt is going to cost like $2,000, because you're going to have a trip to go to another city to buy it and lose 3 days of work. So don't miss a boat, man. You got to have everything that you need right there. So it seemed like we were going to war. I got like first aid kits, radios. If someone, the only thing, two things that couldn't happen from the medical emergency standpoint was someone breaking something that I can fix, and someone dying. The other things we had contingencies for everything. And every bolt we had three of it. Every tool we had three of it. Everything needed to be the most reliable thing ever, which for an engineer, was one of the greatest time of my life, because the company gave us the credit card and see, buy everything you need. It's like just saying to a kid on a toy store, buy what you want. So so me and my
Like, we
boss
need
were
this, we
just
need
so
that, we
happy,
need
man.
three of those.
Yeah, yeah, I need that motorized car. I need it now. I won't be walking around.
Yeah,
We got all the tools, all the holster for tools. It
yeah.
was awesome time. And it was great because we actually faced some problems that I'm going to tell you, and we were prepared. And we just put everything in the container that was shipped from the south of Brazil by truck to there, and all of our tools just got there intact. And don't get me wrong, we dealt with it, but a lot of things went wrong. It was our first time deploying in Brazil, and we usually, when things go bad in US, you go to Home Depot. There you have to improvise with, one of the three boats, extra boats that you brought with you. Uh, the first big problem that we ran to was, well, the dirt roads. The dirt roads were crazy, and we just to get there a lot of hours, right? And we got into the farm, and later on the morning we went back to the city to get the truck guy that was sleeping in the city to go with the truck and the container. And the container was just in the road like this, twisting. So that's the worst of kind of effort you can do in the container, right? Because you sliced a lot of it, so it's having torsion, we destroy things. And I was just going, "Oh my god, I hope everything's okay inside of the container."
Just having like
And
panic attacks the entire time.
yeah, I wasn't having the time of my life. My boss was just pale
Yeah.
in worry. But I was having the time of my life. Uh, and when we got to the site, it had a ramp until the place we are going to put the container. And the truck guy, crazy, crazy motherfucker, he's up to anything. Until that point, he just had been passing through bridges with half tires hanging from each side with the container in the farm, and without a blink. And it takes a look at the ramp and say, "I'm not going down there. I'm just not going." And we said, "Well, we can't just leave the container here, man. We got to figure it out." So the container was brought into the position. The truck was going backwards on the ramp, but the problem is he was going to run out of air in the brakes. So we got an excavator to just secure the truck going backwards on the ramp. It was the craziest things I ever seen. My boss was almost having a heart attack. And I'm just filming everything to register the situation. Uh, and then he's using like a big tough belt made to get generation parts like rotors or something from the hydro plants off the ground. Big belts. one of those belts just snaps mid of the ramp. So that truck just slides like 7 to 10 meters, just sliding backwards. And I look at my boss. He is having a heart attack. He just didn't fail yet, but he's having a heart attack while the truck just slides and stops some meters after that. It was just crazy. And one of the things that went wrong is the it's not the winch, it's the crane. Oh, the crane, yeah. The crane guy got the container from the truck and put it in a concrete pad where it were going to operate, right?
Mhm.
And that guy, well, he stole our radio. He was just so crazy because he got our radio away. But we got the radio to him so we could communicate, making maneuvers without destroying anything. We were concerned that he would just destroy anything, just backing up that big truck without maneuvering area. That guy just backs up on our connecting connecting wire from the transformer to the container and just slices a part of it. It's a this thick cable,
Yeah.
you know, and it slices it in half. You know, uh, Somehow the electricians on that part made it just move the container a little bit in a way that they could connect it both. But yeah, man, it's it's like hundreds of dollars, not hundreds, like 15, 20,000 dollars copper wire, and the guy
Yeah.
just backs off over it. Yeah, and well, at that time, I was just wondering if my first aid kit could do anything. The guy just just backed off on our millionaire wire. But yeah, we got the operation running in 3 days, man. Just 3 days from the date that we got there from machines hashing, and it wasn't 2 days just because the guy backed off on our wire,
Mhm.
And our main concern there were some. Well, if someone gets hurt, uh, seriously hurt, this person is going to die because there's no helicopter that is going to get here at time and going to get you where we are like 9 hours apart from the nearest structure city. So a hand cut can can be a really problem, real problem, because you don't have anyone to make sutures on your hand. So
Mhm.
we were concerned as hell, man. Concerned as hell. We were three engineers, so from the safety standpoint, we were doing our best. But as everyone working on Bitcoin mining, things can go wrong. People that work with Bitcoin mine knows that electricity kills. That's
Mhm.
that's a dangerous thing. And and people usually ask me, "Oh, aren't you afraid of going around those transformers?" I'm afraid as hell, man. I'm afraid as hell of dying. You know, and I don't know if you want to get into other topic, but I do have a lot of another types of these crazy stories around that same operation. I don't know. Do I keep going?
Yeah, no, keep going. I mean,
Yeah,
I think these stories are really important to highlight because, you
yeah.
know, people learn from other people's stories. So, as someone who's lived it and experienced it, these
Okay.
stories of like what can go wrong are very important to highlight. So please continue, and then we'll wrap it up with your thoughts on Brazil.
Yeah, sure. Uh, so okay, this deployment we stayed there for 12 days. We got machines hashing in 3 days, but we had some fine tuning to do. The containers suffered from some damages due to torsion. So, oh man, it was that we learned, right? Because all the uh, oh, how do I say that? It's like shelves. Yeah, all the shelves that the machines were, they twisted.
Mhm.
So they didn't have a lot of space between those. So what happened was I put the first line of machines, and the second line wouldn't fit because they were just twisted. So I was, oh, okay. I'll just unscrew these bolts and move the shelf just a little bit up. Okay, so okay, no problem at all. But when you do that, the space on the third one gets even smaller. So I quickly realized that we were going to need to dismantle all the shelves that we made, but in local, like in full heat, no air conditioning, middle of nowhere, 40 degrees Celsius. I don't know if you know how much that is hot, man. Because
It's hot.
in Fahrenheit, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. So it was just crazy work that we had to do in place, and we were fine tuning this for some days before going out, but it was an absolute success. This is an MVP. Why? Because it was our first operation in Brazil, and we wanted to check first one if we could operate in Brazil. Because this, as you said, if as I said, if everything anything goes wrong, we don't have a backup plan. Well, we should have a backup plan, but we don't have any option instead of just dealing with the problem. So that's another way of operating. You know, the second thing that we wanted to make sure was we can manage an operation fully remote or almost fully remote. This operation itself receives visits and people from our company only once or twice a year. That's completely different from other operations in US. No, there are guys constantly every day in the site in the US. So we had to over dimension everything to make sure that we could rely on the infrastructure to not break. And if exhaust fan breaks, uh, the operation needs to be running smoothly, even with one exhaust down, because we don't have the capacity of being the other day there. We can take up to 3 days to get there, and it's not even economically. It doesn't make sense economically to go there a lot of times because it's far. It's a small operation. So the operations is running absolutely smoothly. What is the best operation of the company by far? We spent a lot of money on the infrastructure side of things, over dimensioning things. We dealt with RKs, mission critical containers, mini pods, EZs, BitRAMs, gigas containers. All of those we had previous experience with, and we got everything that we thought it was good from all these projects, and got rid of everything that we thought it was bad, and got our own project to operate in Brazil, specifically tailored for Brazilian necessities. So hot weather, harsh environment, not a lot of maintenance, not spare parts that you can get anywhere like in the US, so it was almost like an R&D project, internal R&D, and it was an absolute success. And it's considered a rite of passage in our company to go there to that operations in the middle of nowhere. The young engineers just love to go there and experience these things. And every time it's just crazy, man. The crazy.
Mhm.
Because yeah,
No,
feel free.
I was just gonna say, I feel like if you set up this mining operation in Brazil, if you can do that, I mean, I feel like you can set up a mining operation anywhere. You guys probably walked away from that going, you know what? We're gods and we can do anything.
Oh, I got after that I understood how close to dying you can be, actually. Yeah. So I got way more careful. I got humble quickly. You
Yeah,
know,
that happens.
there's no amount of knowledge that can prevent you from dying from just a short circuit on a transformer. So I
Mhm.
got humble quickly. But yeah, it for sure gave us confidence to say to everybody that, well, we did it in Brazil. Come on, we can make it on Oklahoma or something.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. No,
We're starting to get to the top of the hour here. Um, I kind of just want to wrap it up with your thoughts on like Brazil and mining into the future. Do you kind of gave us the question? Do you believe that Brazil has a chance to spearhead Bitcoin mining in the
sure.
future? And I'd like you to touch on that versus America.
Yeah. Well, never bet against America, right? So overthrowing America, I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think that Brazil, you know, man, I love Brazil. I love Brazilian people, love Brazilian culture. But the thing is, Brazil is the country of the future. but it has been the country of the future for the last 150 years, and it's going to keep being the country of the future. The future just never arrives. So I don't see Brazil spearheading anything, unfortunately, because I would love to see it. It's
Mhm.
just there's so many wrong stuff, so many things waiting, just waiting down on Brazilian development and innovation. Brazil could be a hotspot for Bitcoin mining. As I said, there's a lot of energy. It's a green portfolio of generation. Brazil's reference on renewable energy in a global way. Uh, but importing taxes, the taxes overall, corruption, and the Brazilian way of doing things, yeah, it gets in the way of doing business, for sure. We are trying to bring awareness for Brazil, because there are some opportunities and there are some good people and good companies trying to bring attention to it.
Mhm.
I really hope it's just a matter of time. I really cheer for Brazil and in that regard. And well, being here with you on such an important podcast is part of it. I'm bringing awareness for Brazil because I want it to change. I know and I can see a lot of potential there. And well, you cannot be, you shouldn't believe me, right? Who am I? But you should believe, I don't know, Tether or Bittier or other big companies that are looking today to Brazil, and they are trying to expand here, and they are just stumbling with the difficulty of regulations and taxes, but they are going to figure out, because they put it in their head that they want to come here because of the opportunity, and they have the size to justify all those expenses on getting around the problem. So yeah, I think Brazil is going to become a hotspot, especially in the northeast of the country. We have a big hotspot right on our side, Paraguay. I don't know if you heard of that, but Paraguay is a big mining hub. Uh, but yeah, there people just go and rob your operation.
Yeah.
Paraguay is just crazy. And actually, I have a lot of contacts that are going to Brazil because yeah, we don't operate in Paraguay anymore. The last time we were there, people got rifles on our heads. I'm just not into that. I prefer Brazil. Uh, but they all say, well, Brazil is actually complicated. It's expensive to operate,
Mhm.
and that's why my company is actually focusing on the United States. We have this project going, this R&D kind of secret project going by the end of the year, that has a lot of potential, but that's it. Our main focus is in the US and expanding. We have a 140 megawatts pipeline for this year and the next one, while Brazil is at 20. That shows off where our focus is on.
Mm.
Uh, you know, I really hope that Brazil changes the way of doing things, and some things are changing. Not long ago, I think 2 weeks, yeah, 2 weeks. Uh, the vice president just signed. It's like almost like an order, like Trump do, executive order, something like that, making an exemption for taxes for some specific things on Bitcoin mining. He extended the exemption on Bitcoin ASICs, you
Mhm.
know, and he added, for example, some mining containers to that. It helps a lot, because people were just being suffocated on taxes on importing side. If you do things wrong, you can be taxed on 93%. That's, that get projects not to be even launched. So yes, every help that we can get, we are sure going to cheer for it. And yeah, but even the Bitcoin awareness in Brazil is just not so big, which is kind of sad, because usually the people that need Bitcoin the most are those that suffer most from inflation, from corrupt governments, and from weak currencies overall. And it seems to me that Brazil is just losing this race, while U.S. seems to be as a first Bitcoin president, Trump, advertising it. It seems that Brazil lost the timing. It could be into Bitcoin a long time ago, and it into Bitcoin comes with also being a miner. These things usually come together, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's definitely going to be difficult moving into the future with everything that we've touched on today. A lot of operations are not going to want to go to Brazil because of these difficulties, and they'll probably be
Yeah.
willing to pay, 8, 9, or 7, 8 cents a kilowatt hour just because they don't have to go through the same hurdles, the same difficulties that you guys are facing in Brazil. But at the same time, you are going to have companies that are willing to go through that because they have such a large balance sheet. They're able to,
Yeah.
deal with that. And so it'll be interesting to see, into the future where we end up, where Brazil ends up on the Bitcoin side of things. And I really hope that the mining aspect can bring more awareness to Bitcoin in places like Brazil so that the populations can benefit from owning Bitcoin and holding sovereign money.
Hmm.
um, I think it'll be very interesting, and I'm kind of like hesitant to say excited, but also excited to see where it goes. Um, John, I want to say, thank you for coming on the show today. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, man.
Before I let you go, is there any place that you want to point the audience, if anybody wants to reach out to you and say hi, just, this is your moment to shill your company or whatever you want to point people in the direction of.
Sure. I'll let you know my LinkedIn account, and you can put a probably going to edit it, right? Just put it on the downside of the screen here. Yeah, you can check me on that. I've been posting a lot about Brazil and all Brazil difficulties. But one thing that I wanted to make clear, and if I had the opportunity to choose one message to stay with the audience, is okay. Brazil is difficult to operate, man, but there are serious companies going there and serious Brazilian companies that are specializing in operating in these kind of environments. It's not you're an American investor. It's not like we are going to grab a shovel. We are just going in the middle of Brazil. Let's just mine there. It's not like that. So our company specializes on operating in these kind of situations. They are harsh. Yeah, they are harsh. But we wouldn't be doing that if we didn't believe that Brazil has a potential, and we have a firmly belief that we can deal with these situations. So Brazil is moving forward, and Brazilian companies are learning to operate there. And I hope to see everyone going to Brazil, mine with Brazil at some point. Okay.
Awesome.
So yeah,
Um,
leave my LinkedIn here. You can see more things about Brazil and our difficulties and stories there for sure.
okay,
And
awesome.
such a
Those
pleasure
will,
to be
those will
here,
be
man.
in the show notes as well. And last thing, so you're not familiar with the podcast too much, but I ask everyone the same exact question when they're first come on the show. And my question to
Oh,
you, John, is what does Bitcoin mean to you?
oh, it's gonna sound so cheesy, man, but it's so true for Brazilian reality. Bitcoin's freedom. Bitcoin's freedom from a incompetent and inefficient government. Bitcoin is a freedom. It's a way to, through proof of work, to get access to better money, better future, and better technology. You know, Brazil has a story of, you know, being through a lot of problems, and I think Bitcoin can solve a lot of them. So freedom and especially future, so cheesy, bad thing, but it's so true. But the Brazilian reality for sure.
You, you know what? I love that answer, and the cheesy answers are often the
Yeah, I
truest
said
answers.
freedom, so the American loved it, right? You know.
Exactly, exactly. Freedom and hope. That's all you have to say.
Oh yeah,
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time today, John. I thank you for coming on the Build a Mind podcast. To the audience, we will see you guys next
thank you
time.
for having me, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Take care.
Peace, man.